So when you mentioned like you had this, it was right here,
Yeah.
right? Usually the problem. So you felt that maybe you should do like more like specific like just back strengthening exercises, or perhaps it's always that question like, is it can you get rid of it kind of like just by training your spine, or perhaps you need to like target more the hip area, and most of the times it's really the combination to like get every part of the body kind of connected and integrated, because even when we do exercises, we usually, even though we do like good exercise, you can do like a deadlift, you can have your back straight, you can do everything is good, but that's just like, it's such a narrow, it's like a one movement among dozens. If you think about, for example, we talk about hip flexion here, right? So you have this, you can do it this way, you can do it with internal rotation, you can do it with external rotation, and every single kind of part there, it's like we made it kind of arbitrary choice that, this one pattern where we can perhaps lift the most is the best pattern. But of course, when it comes to the body, there's usually, it's more complex in that sense. And sometimes a lot of these troubles that we face, if we just add a bit more variety, we might actually be able to get rid of them because we're targeting muscles that we usually don't. So that's the variety is one thing. And the other thing that actually matters the most is the technique, of course. So we're getting the most out of any form that we're doing. Like whether I'm doing this form or this form, how much results I'm going to get out of it depends on what kind of consciousness and control I'm putting into that exercise. So one thing that I wanted to try with you was a deadlift variation and see if you notice differences. There is actually to hold your legs completely together and then squeeze kind of the thighs, squeeze the legs a little bit towards each other, which creates again a different path of engagement and activation. So you can come here, there, and putting the legs together, having like a bit of squeeze towards each other with the legs. And now what you can do without even the weight first is you start to, and all the time as you're going from the hip hinge, I know you already can pretty much do the hip hinge, I've seen you have a good deadlift form, but just adding to that the different leg articulation or leg positioning and squeezing the legs together and going down. You can first go with the legs straight. Yeah. Good. You go a little bit slower. Squeeze the thighs together. Good. And then you can go halfway and stay there. Stop. Yep. And keep utilizing those inner thighs, for example. Do you feel, can you describe any difference already, or just?
Yeah, I feel that I don't have that much like mobility to get like lower. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like it's like kind of like. Yeah, like starting to like get stuck. That I won't get that far, and also like I feel like kind of like that my like abdominals are like kind of like more active, like when I try to reach the bottom.
Right. Yeah. So one thing actually that people even like this kind of variation why some people may not do it is because so maybe even I can't like. Because this is much more of a stretch here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this is like that small change is middle like much more intense stretch. So we noticed, you can't go initially as low, so you might think like maybe, it's not good to do it because you always want to have the biggest range, but that's not really the case. Even these kind of, or these articulations, they will strain and they will kind of like open up over time as you develop them. So if you want, you can take this and kind of, so maybe, we do this like in athlete training, for example, what we do in the deadlift or how we create the most amount of tension in the entire range is we keep the bar a little bit in the front. So of course it has to be a little bit light, but what it does is even in the top position here, my hamstrings are active because otherwise, this leverage pulls me down. So you keep the arms a little bit in the front. It's kind of like a hack to create tension. Good. And you can take all the kind of external idea away from your head, like how far can you go. Only focus on how you feel in your hamstrings, in your inner thighs, and also the core. Like you already said, you could feel the activation. And
yeah, I felt that there's like more activation in the core, and like my hamstrings feel like stiffer. Compared to like the normal straight leg.
You can even try if you want. You can do kind of Romanian deadlift. So you can slightly bend the knees, and it's not as intense stretch, but you still feel a little bit of difference in the engagement. And here, this very end, you can try to like push like slightly bit more to get that. Because even this is also one part. Maybe you notice, at least for me, it's harder if I keep my legs together. It's harder to actually fully turn that pelvis and engage because there's just like a less space. But it really causes a really strong activation on the top of those hamstrings. Nice. So now, you can actually lower it, or I can take it. So that's one thing. Another thing that you can, for example, try even in movement 2NX when you have active flexibility, like we utilize the good morning, and we sometimes hold the legs like this way. You can do this, like whenever you now like go do some sort of strength training, you're doing a deadlift, so you can try like kind of freely. When you have kind of correct principles, you can control yourself, it's really safe. So there's very little risk actually which kind of things you choose to try on. But you can do a lot of different type of things, and this way like you can find always these different muscles that can be trained, and you actually explore different weaknesses. You can just like find out, okay, this is some weak area. But one exercise that I also want to show you right now is actually a little bit the same, but it's the Jefferson curl. We're starting from there because this also, so now we target the posterior chain, but we also target like the back. So being able to actually support or create support when your spine is flexed. So I'm not sure if you explained it, do you feel like it's a natural feeling to you, or you feel like vulnerable when you're?
Well, I usually try to keep my back straight when I've done the exercises, but like, of course, in the jiu-jitsu and wrestling, you are doing like kind of like different movements when you are like really twist up and like try to get up. So it's like, of course, you should train those areas also in the gym.
Yeah, it's like really sometimes awkward positions. Even in like the single leg, it's not like this way. Like it's usually like more curled up and you're like twist. So, well, I'd say of course the jiu-jitsu itself is going to make you stronger. But if there's something that how do I say? So if you're doing the jiu-jitsu, you can do those movements, but you're not necessarily so consciously doing it. So you might be like compensating, you do everything with the hips or something, so areas perhaps in the back might get undeveloped, but the Jefferson curl is like a good variation to start to gain more strength in the spine. But there's one really good thing about it that I also like. So when I'm actually, for example, here, and I start to come up, my back is rounded. So what this does is I have zero chances of actually trying to lift with my spine. So sometimes what happens in the deadlifts or something, it's the back is kind of, it can start to kind of dominate, it can start to sort of through arching, you're using so much that you get, or it takes a little bit away from actually purely utilizing the muscles in the back of the legs. So what I like this, even with the legs separately, when I come here up, everything is purely hamstrings, purely glutes. So it's not only that we're training back, or many people think that this is back movement because they see the rounded spine, but you're actually utilizing really from here, all of this up until this way, and now you can roll your spine open. So there's different Or for example, the wall deadlift, perhaps we did it one time, where we can separate or even this in the athlete gymnastics, we can separately train the axial back articulation. But we can do the Jefferson curl and see. So you can keep maybe quite narrow, doesn't have to be touching it. And you can just reach towards the ground. Yep, step by step. Nice. Yep. Good. Yeah, we can do again. I'd say, yeah, you can go down was really good. Up we can wait a bit more until you start to open up the back. So you try to squeeze from here a little bit further. Yep, so now be very careful, push this. Yep, and now you can start to open up the back. Nice. Yep, at this point, yep, push the glutes and the hamstrings first. Nice. And then open up the spine. You can try couple with the weight. So essentially it's exactly the same thing. Maybe grab it from the bottom.
Yeah.
And the idea is to feel the difference as opposed to if I'm doing this way, I'm doing it here. And I sometimes find it it's if I really focus on the posterior chain, I can really, it's almost sometimes create shakiness because it's such a strong stimulus and it really isolates here. But when you use the weights, for example, you also notice, again, even though the back is not straight, you are utilizing the core a lot. Because you need to here, for example, the abs are contracted, you pull in the stomach. So that's how you keep pressure in there through that range of motion. Yeah. So, yep, here tight, you keep the pressure and good. Move a little bit weight there. You can do one more. That was good. How do you feel okay during that?
Yeah. I feel when I'm contracting my abs, they're
yeah. It's almost natural feeling in that position.
Yeah, but they are kind of cramping.
Even cramping.
Yeah. When I really curl, in.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's also, I think cramping, it might be a sign of lack of just conditioning even in those ranges.
Yeah.
Which is really good. So how did you feel about the legs? Was there any specific?
No, didn't feel that hard at all.
Okay.
Maybe I should do that maybe in some platform that have more stretch. I don't know. But it doesn't feel much in the back.
Let's do one more, which at least should give you a feeling. So we're gonna do kind of a Jefferson curl, but we're gonna do just with one leg here.
Yeah.
So this should definitely give you the activation, but it's the same. I'm gonna when I don't have to even create huge pressure into my stomach, but it's pulled in, of course, for natural stabilization. But going up with one leg this way is totally different compared to doing your regular single leg deadlift again. So let's just do that. And really try to keep the leg kind of here next to it, so don't bring it even as a counterweight. Yeah. And you can stay in the bottom a bit, like kind of, not just like, of course you can't even relax there, but to feel it out and see how you feel, for example, the stretch part, perhaps the activation.
Yeah.
And then you can come a little bit up, not from the back. Yeah, that's the tricky part. With the single leg, you gotta use much more the leg strength.
Yeah.
And then you can go down again. Yep, like even this small motion here, and then you can start to come up slowly, just purely from the glute, hamstring. Try to lift up more. You can come all the way slowly up. More from the glute, yeah. Not from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I felt like how to keep the balance and try to concentrate on using the leg and like the glute and the hamstring. But also like I get like cramping on the
so
abs.
the abs is really cramping.
Yeah. Doing if I'm like trying to like really crunch on the end range.
Yeah, I think like in this variation you can maybe less try to contract here because it's just like, well, you don't have really anything that's trying to break that. But it's so you can more focus on the stretch part here and getting that pure pull. You can try one more, for example, with the other leg.
Yeah. I feel that like when I try to be like really back rounded, I cannot relax my abs that much. Like when I'm lifting, then if I don't use my abs, I try to like use my back. Like kind of like
I understand.
Yeah, I'm like countering my use of back.
Yeah.
Like, with the abs.
Well, but this is why like even doing this exercise, it tells so much because first of all, because I kind of like keep it completely relaxed and then come up. So the kind of even the nerve connection, the pathway to this leg and the muscles here is not so refined that you could utilize them without excessively contracting the abdominals. But it's a good way to begin this training. So that way you can really take away the spine. Yeah, you can do one more. So this is also, of course, good if there's some side differences, like usually there are.
Yeah, this is like my worst leg.
Worst leg. Yeah. All right, but that was good. We are pretty much running out of time in this gym, but we'll definitely keep on doing and testing out this exercise. This is just like a couple that we can do, and it all like shows, multiple different ways that we can vary this kind of hip hinge patterns, deadlift patterns. So it's not only that there's just this one way that we can do, or the one way that we can lift the most amount of weight. We need to create more balance, and one is that actually Perttu did really well. I like that he clearly is able to stay present. He's able to do it this slowly already now, so he has a refined approach in the execution of exercises. And what we just add to that is we add more variety. So that's basically what we do in athlete training also. We teach the methodology, the control and everything that we do, but then we add different exercises that we can apply all that we have learned. So we can actually make the variety that we use work for our benefit, take the most out of any exercise. So that was, how did you feel now, or how did you?
Well, now feeling a bit on the glute and hamstring, and I feel that this might be it. What I need right now to have like a kind of like focus more on the hip area with the like a different kind of approaches with not just like a normal deadlift. Yeah,
exactly. Because like it's really easy if you go like a couple of times a week, do your strength training. Like all you do is you just change a bit. You just change it around, and you get like more benefits than just doing always the same thing, which of course has benefits. But yeah, we want to aim for more balanced. But like you said, it's good. Like you kind of take a phase. So now you focus on this. Like that's also what I would like to do. If I find something that I need to improve upon, then I'm really kind of maxing it out. I'm gonna go like to the bottom of it to see all the things that I can get out of it, because the benefits of the results can be so dramatic. like just for your everyday life, and perhaps even in the long term for the competitions, to keep yourself from injuring or having to take like breaks from training. So yes. Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And stay strong. Even like the L2Next you did at one point, did you notice like, or what kind of benefits did you notice directly from that?
Yeah, I was like, at that time I had like, also then I had like problems with my back and shoulder, like it was like really hurting, so I had like problems with walking and like doing normal lifting. So I started slowly with the Athlete 20XX, and like after a while I felt that like my shoulder and back is like feeling better, and like after a few months I eventually like got better with the back, and like could do like proper weightlifting and like do more, like it handled more stress and like.
Yeah, just being able to like gain perhaps like more awareness to like traditional movements.
Yeah. Like I kind of like found some new muscles around the hip and shoulder area, and like got more strength.
Right. You mean the hip articulations?
Yeah. That's like really important part, especially in the jiu-jitsu, to have like strength in the hip, like in different movements. So like that's kind of like what people usually don't maybe understand outside the sport, that there's a lot of that kind of movements included. I try to like keep it the strength training kind of like different as the jiu-jitsu. I don't like do like circuits and like everything. I feel that I can get the pace and like the heartbeat up like in the jiu-jitsu, but I'd like try to focus more on having like
structure
and like feel like kind of like robust on the joints, and like focus on that kind of.
Yeah, exactly, like bulletproof. Yeah. The different areas, like that's how it works. I find like it's essentially like doing that type of training, you just feel much more like safe even during the competition situations. You can kind of rely, and it's also like knowing your body, I suppose, just knowing what is going around there, you know the different articulations, like getting that sort of foundation
on
the way. Yeah.